I'm calling the meeting to order. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. We have, Mr. Flynn is called in on caller number 3, and I see Selectwoman Lefkowitz is on. First item is minutes. Can I get a motion to consider and act upon the minutes of February 6th, February 13th, February 22nd, February 24th, February 27th, February 28th, March 3rd, and March 6th, 2023? Oh, okay.
For the record, I would love on the minutes of, sorry, can I be recognized?
Sure, go right ahead.
Thanks. For the record, I listened back, for the minutes on, February 6th, in the paragraph where it says there was discussion with Planning Director James Wendt and so on. I would love to strike the words, the sentence, Selectwoman Lefkowitz reiterated her original suggestion. And then I'd love to strike the following words, to let the March 31st deadline pass and have the town go into retrograde, and instead have it read, Selectwoman Lefkowitz reiterated her original suggestion to buy time to make a decision. Because I did go back and listen, and the spirit and the intent of that was not to suggest I wanted the town to go into retrograde, but I thought it was an option to buy time. So if we strike those words, I think it's more in the spirit of what I said. And if there isn't consensus on that, I would just like there to be some, I don't know how we do it, whether it's just kind of stating for the record today. But it would be my hope, so I'm going to make an official motion to strike the words to let the March 31st deadline pass and have the town go into retrograde.
I'll second it for discussion purposes, sure.
Okay. So my understanding for all the years I've been involved in town government is that minutes reflect whatever's said, not what's intended. And so obviously I didn't sit and listen to the meeting. I know Prue does the minutes. I don't know exactly what words were used or, minutes are supposed to just reflect basically who's there, how the votes go. We do have FairTV, which anyone can, since the creation of FairTV, minutes really, I don't think anybody even reads minutes anymore. They watch FairTV. But, Prue, do you want to, did you read? You listened. Obviously, you were there.
I just write down what people say. It's Robert's rules. I don't know how that would reflect on this. I'll do whatever you guys want me to do.
Sure. Go ahead, Tom.
Madam First Selectwoman?
Yes.
Yeah. Here's what I think. Here's a recommendation. If that's the only item,
yep.
Let's go and approve all the other minutes. And then we can ask Prue to go back and just listen to that section of the meeting.
Okay.
And just make sure that we have the quote-unquote verbatim of what Nancy said in that area, if it's important. And certainly it's important to Nancy, so I'm totally fine with it.
Yep.
Because I rather reflect what she said. I agree with you as regards the quote-unquote they don't represent the spirit. I think it's got to represent whatever the words were at that time. But Nancy has said that the current writing does not reflect that. So I think if that's the case, I'm more than happy for somebody to go back and make sure it represents exactly what was appropriate. I hope that works for you, Nancy.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And again, not assigning Prue no malintent on your, for me, when I read it and then I thought about the discussion and I listened, and I, of course, will go back and listen again if that's, if we agree to what you just recommended, Tom.
Yeah, that's fine. So was that March 6th meeting?
February 6th.
Yeah.
February 6th meeting?
Yeah.
There is no,
Yeah, it's
oh.
something like the fact that it.
So I'm gonna withdraw this motion, and can the second withdraw?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Okay, so now I'm gonna start over.
Yeah.
So we're exempting the February 6th minutes, is that correct?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, so to consider, can I get a motion to consider and act upon February 13th, February 22nd, February 24th, February 27th, February 28th, March 3rd, and March 6th, 2023 minutes?
Not March 6th.
I thought you said February 6th was the date.
No, March 6th.
No, it was March 6th.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought so.
Can I get a motion to consider and act upon the minutes of February 6th, the 13th, 22nd, 24th, 27th, 28th, and March 3rd, 2023?
So moved.
Second it.
Is there any further discussion on this item? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is item number 4. I just want to announce that Sarah Matthews is resigning from the Burr Gardens Committee, and she resigned on March 15th, and I just want to thank her for her service on the committee. And is there any comments on that informational item?
No, I'd just like to thank her for her commitment and for her service.
Thank you. Item number 5, can I get a motion to approve to the Bike and Ped Committee, David J. Peck of South Pine Creek Road for a term from 11/22 to 11/26, who will replace Stephen Collins, who resigned, and David Wellman of Mona Terrace to serve from the term of 11/20 to 11/24 to replace Sarah Roy, who also resigned.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Very good.
Excuse me, Madam Chairman.
Oh, yes.
Anthony.
I'm sorry, Anthony. Okay. And we have both gentlemen here. Would you like to get up and offer a few comments? Sorry, former chief of police.
All set.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just had to do one. I'd just like to thank everyone for the opportunity to do this. As you all know, I've been involved in town government.
He has to hold it the whole time? Oh, okay.
Okay. Anyway, I'd like to thank everyone for this opportunity. I have been a town resident in my entire life, and having served the town for many years, this is a nice opportunity to give back again and to get involved with our community. And I look forward to helping the committee do whatever they need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you like to offer any comments, Anthony?
Is the mic still hot?
Okay.
I'd just like to say thank you, and I haven't lived in town quite as long as Dave, but about 25 years or so, and enjoy it. I'm an avid walker in the town, so I guess Dave put two and two together and suggested I might consider it, so thank you for having me.
Well, thank you very much. And I will, open it up to the board for any comments or questions. Seeing none. Okay.
Well, I'm just going to make the statement that I appreciate, because I'm certain that both these gentlemen will have the support today. I'm going to abstain because I have been on vacation and haven't had a chance to look at any of that material, which I got late Friday. So, I want to thank you both for your service and your dedication, your longtime dedication to the town, but simply because I was just looking at the agenda, I'm going to abstain today.
And I just want to say thank you to both gentlemen for the agreement to serve. And I'm actually thrilled that Dave is going to jump on here, knowing his work in the police department, and I think that's going to be a valuable perspective, a very valuable and unique perspective to add to the committee as they deal with these issues. And I'm sure both gentlemen will do a fine job.
Thank you, Tom, and I agree. I think having a former police chief on the Bike and Ped Committee who works very actively with both the police department and our engineering department on so many issues is going to be a huge asset. And I'm sure Anthony is going to bring a lot of good perspective as well. They do a lot of work with our, like I said, our police and our engineering department on trying to improve safety throughout the town. So thank you both for stepping up to serve our community.
You're welcome.
All right, if there's no further comments, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, motion carries 2 by 2. Okay, thank you very much. And I always tell everybody, you're free to stay, but you're welcome to leave. Oh, you watch it on FairTV. Okay, very good. All right, thanks so much, gentlemen.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Safe out there.
Okay, our next item is an item, a motion to approve Community and Economic Development Director resolved that the first Selectwoman, Brenda L. Kupchik, is hereby authorized to execute an agreement between the State of Connecticut of Transportation and the Town of Fairfield and May Fairfield CT LLC to make certain changes to the original tri-party agreement dated March 31, 2003. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second it.
And we have Mark Barnhart, and we also have Attorney Baldwin on the line if there's any questions. Go ahead, Mark.
So very briefly, I'm sure, and I'll first apologize, in the second paragraph, there is a typo. I think I refer to it later on. It's clearly the tri-party agreement was executed back in 2003, not 2023,
Yeah.
as I mistakenly put in the second paragraph. But as you recall, the property has recently undergone a change in ownership. And the new owner and developer of the property is proposing certain changes. In fact, there's a informal presentation tomorrow night before the Planning and Zoning Commission with respect to proposed changes to the approved master plan for this site. And at the time in which they were contemplating purchasing the property from the former owner, BlackRock Realty, there is a provision within the tri-party agreement that provides for both the state and the town to consent to any assignment of interest or obligations to a third party. And at that time, the developer sought certain assurances to move forward with the proposed purchase of the property, which were forthcoming. The town consented to the proposed sale of the property, and the state did as well, but indicated that the state wanted to make certain changes to the tri-party agreement to reflect the new ownership and their proposed plans, and to get more specificity as to their timetable for constructing the concourse building. Similarly, the developer sought some assurances as well. As I indicated in my transmittal letter, the original tri-party agreement contemplated a different project as it relates to the concourse building, a much smaller building that only incorporated office, small office, and retail uses of not more than 30,000 square feet, whereas the new owner is envisioning a much larger building that would accommodate a hotel, which the town supports. So given that, the state has gone through its process to, again, memorialize certain of those discussion points during the due diligence period leading up to the closing on the property, and that's now reflected in this agreement. And so in order to move forward, we seek your approval so that the first Selectwoman can enter into this proposed amendment. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Thank you, Mark. Is there anyone, Tom or Nancy, do you have any?
I do.
Go ahead.
To either Mark or to Attorney Baldwin. do any of these adjustments cause any greater risk for the town in liability or the like? And B, do any of these adjustments that are being sought in this agreement expose the town any greater financially?
My take on it is no to both. The town's obligations under the three-party agreement have been satisfied. All the parties acknowledge many of the obligations set forth in the three-party agreement have been met. The town has in fact transferred title of the parking lot land to the state of Connecticut. And that's why, in this amendment, it references, a land lease, which originally was supposed to go to the town, is now in favor of the state because the state is the owner-operator of the Fairfield Metro Center parking lot. But in my opinion, it does not expose the town to any additional financial or other risk. I'll defer to the town attorney if he has a different opinion.
Yeah, Jim Baldwin, yeah.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly with Mark about that, and I'll remind the board that the concourse building even has set aside 500 square feet dedicated for a police substation. So I think the town is going to be well served by that as well as the entirety of the agreement.
Got it. Thank you both, gentlemen.
I'd like to follow up with a quick question.
Sure, go ahead.
And I don't disagree with what you said, Mark, or what Attorney Baldwin just said. But we did get an email, which, Mark, you're not copied on, but I'd be curious how you would respond to it. One resident emailed just concerned that concessions had been made in the past for the developer and that the town shouldn't be allowing for those concessions moving forward. Do you have any answer to that?
I'm not aware of it. I mean, there are no concessions outlined in this amendment, so I think it's pretty straightforward. In fact, it provides, again, the state was really looking for some further assurances from the developer in terms of his completion timetable as relates to the concourse building, and those are memorialized with much greater specificity in this document than in the original tri-party agreement.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying. I don't have anything else.
Tom, do you?
No, I'm good.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mark. So we just, no, the date is right in here, 2003.
Yeah, the resolution is correct.
Okay, very good. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. And so our next item is just to hear an update from our engineering department on the Fairfield Master Plan. And before Bill and Mega begin, I just want to thank, we have Police Chief here as well. They're going to discuss enforcement portion with the Superintendent of Schools, Mike Testani, and our Biking Ped Committee chairperson discussing the education portion. But I just want to take the time to thank them both for their hard work on this addition to all the work they have been doing for our town. Just for our public's edification, Bill and Mega have been meeting with police, my office, economic development, planning and zoning to ensure a well-rounded update with all the work that has been in the engineering department over the last years. I think their fault is that they don't take the time to pat themselves on the back enough, and they should. I'm glad they've worked to incorporate what they have accomplished in the recent years as well as the upcoming projects, and also took the time and care to use this document to help educate our residents on the many challenges we face as a community when incorporating access for our bikers, pedestrians, and vehicles through our Complete Streets policy. The town often has requests for crosswalks, sidewalks, bike lanes, but then they're faced with opposition from our state DOT, where many of our roads are, and from the elimination of street parking purposes from business owners. So many times our residents may request a sidewalk, for example, in their neighborhood, but they don't come to find out, Bill will do a survey, and many of the people in that neighborhood don't want a sidewalk because they don't want to shovel it in the winter. So there are a lot of intricacies that go on. But I just want to thank them because I know they put a lot of time and effort into this and the connectivity and the safe pedestrian access. And it's why we've used a lot of our ARPA funds in that vein and secured a number of grants to improve and expand walkability. So I look forward to working with them, and I'm going to hand it over to both of you for your presentation. Thanks so much.
Madam First Selectwoman, before you do that, unfortunately, I had a conflict come up, a professional conflict, and I need, as I told you, to leave this call.
Yes.
But I will in fact watch this to make sure that I get full benefit of the presentation. And my apologies, gentlemen, and please don't take my having to jump off as not being interested, and I will follow up. So thank you so much for all your hard work and effort on this.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to contact our office.
You know I will, Bill. You know I will.
All righty.
Okay, everyone. Shall I begin?
Yeah, and I have on.
Yeah, okay. My name's Bill Hurley, Engineering Manager for the town of Fairfield, and we're here to at least present the update for the Fairfield Bicycle Pedestrian Plan. We consider it a working document, and we have, as Brenda had mentioned before, compiled various sections, updated some sections, kept some of the sections from the original, and so we're here to present that. Pretty much the vision of the Bike and Ped Master Plan pretty much remains the same. The town of Fairfield recognizes the need to encourage walking and biking for transportation, recreation, exercise, and quality of life. Walking and biking conserve energy, improve air quality, reduce traffic, the need for parking, improve health and fitness, and invigorate the local economy through increased access to local businesses and greater potential for tourism. These community-wide benefits would be achieved through engineering, planning, enforcement, education, and infrastructure actions. The Fairfield Bike and Pedestrian Master Plan was a document originally prepared and endorsed by the Board of Selectmen back in 2013. Back in the summer of 2022, and more recently in around the holidays of this year, the Bike and Ped Committee requested an update on the Fairfield Bike and Pedestrian Master Plan. Engineering has reviewed and updated the Bike and Ped Plan, incorporating the Complete Streets policy, the town's accomplishments, revising any outdated or confusing information, and providing short-term and future recommendations. We are starting to solicit general comments and have reorganized the Bike and Ped Plan in a more friendly form, a more user-friendly form, and it could be easily followed, and are awaiting, as I said, any suggestions, input, or approvals if necessary. In summary, the report can be divided into several sections. The vision of the plan, that as I just discussed, the Complete Streets policy, engineering recommendations, enforcement recommendations, education recommendations, and funding sources. I think everybody knows what complete streets are, but maybe I'll just go over it rather quickly. But in the interest of time, if you have any questions, we're here to answer them. But too many streets in the U.S. and Fairfield are designed for cars only. In a national movement to change our streets for the better, hundreds of communities have adopted Complete Streets policy, which encourage planners and engineers to build road networks that are safer, more livable, welcoming to everyone. The town of Fairfield seeks to provide in all types of transportation and development projects for the needs of all users, including bicyclists, pedestrians, transit users, and the drivers, with special attention given to the vulnerable populations. The town departments shall make every effort to apply this Complete Streets policy to any new construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, retrofit, significant repair of any street, road, bridge, or parking lot, or any other portion of the transportation system under the jurisdiction of the town of Fairfield, as well as highways and roads under the control, ownership, and jurisdiction of the state of Connecticut. As usually, the state will give us a chance to make comments. Sometimes they incorporate them, sometimes they can't. Let's see here. In the steps in analyzing that complete streets, the countermeasures and the policy, the engineering department, in coordination with the police, zoning departments, they follow the general assessment and approach to achieve the complete streets at critical locations. This involves identifying the type of project, the project limit, the context that defines zoning regulations, street classifications, any town, state, and federal guidelines, including the MUTCD, which is the legal manual that we must follow. The project types for new construction project, also known as 4R, it's a term that the state uses, is for new construction, reconstruction, rehabilitation, and retrofits, and involves any new infrastructure projects, bridges, roadway design projects, and which will optimize and investigate cyclist and pedestrian safety. The full range of the countermeasures should be considered in the design of new projects. The preliminary limiting factors sometimes, though, are the right-of-way constraints, budget, neighborhood support, opposition, environmental impacts, and the modal priority decisions. But as in the case, we do look at these for every new project. For restoration, resurfacing, and rehabilitation, also known as 3R, these projects fall under a maintenance that involve pavement surface repairs and targeted safety improvements. These projects present opportunities to implement meaningful, lower cost countermeasures such as pavement markings, signs, signal timing changes, which can improve the safety outcomes. The town will upgrade ADA accessible ramps where applicable. And then there's also utility upgrades that we look at as well. To determine the project limits, constraints, and contexts, that section is mainly a land use context where we get the zoning involved, the zoning department, and a few of the zoning recommendations that have been considered are planning recommendations that developers are required to provide bike and pedestrian plan as part of the site approval process for all commercial developments. The State Traffic Commission already requires developers to provide information on how bicycling and walking have been considered for developments on state highways with developments of 100,000 square feet or 200 plus parking spaces. Zoning has also implemented a new bike rack code, and they require sidewalks to be at least 6 foot wide where there's no grass strip available, again, pending the local topography for that. Determinations of project limits and project constraints, the geometric constraints, financial constraints, neighborhood opposition, and state policies are sometimes what holds us from implementing the complete streets. Usually, though, there could be some of the elements implemented. But we also have to consider the end user, who are the cyclists and pedestrians and transit users. And we include them in these plans, and that might mean sidewalks, handicap ramps, bike facilities or amenities, and we can go from there. Unfortunately, if it's a smaller project, we can't have a complete streets on a partial section of the roadway. Then there is one change that I already saw we wanted to make was on the next page where we call it priority users. And I want to change that term, that might be from an older document, as primary users. And so those are the users that can limit the countermeasure options. They sometimes the volumes of the roadway and if it's a state highway, as Brenda had mentioned before, sometimes that poses some limitations. What we here in engineering, and I know the police department does as well, zoning I imagine as well, we try to balance everything out where we can, like they said, for all users. And now here's Mega to present some of the engineering recommendations.
Thank you, Bill. for this. So I'll continue with our recommendations. Let me scroll this down a little bit, I'm sorry. So we'll talk about engineering recommendations on this. And basically, when we are analyzing our countermeasures to basically give priority to our end users, which are bicyclists and pedestrians, we make every effort to accommodate them on our roadways. And we follow 3 E's in this, which is engineering, enforcement, and education. I'll talk about engineering, and our recommendations are based on these 6 items that we have listed here. So first item is about safety and improvement request. So any improvement or safety that our residents see, and they want to make a change on their roadway, they have to go through the traffic request form. They have to go through the police commission, and police commission have a traffic survey request form. So the first step is they have to fill the traffic survey form. It goes through them, and then we, with the police commission, with the police staff and police commission members and the engineering department, we go for the survey. To take a tour of a roadway and see exactly why there is an issue, why if somebody has a safety concern, if there are crosswalks missing, if there is not a proper ADA compliance, ADA ramps. So we go and do the survey with the police commission, and then we follow the steps. Those steps are actually available on the police website. So that's the first foremost step that we have to follow through residents. Then comes the road safety audit. Road safety audit is done on longer sections of roadways where we see neighborhood impacts, and we do more detailed analysis for this road safety. It's not done on smaller, but more longer. In this, a lot of departments are involved with us while doing the road safety audit. There is a board of education involved. There is a police department involved. There's a bike and pedestrian committee involved, homeowners, business owners. Sometimes we invite, Yukon safety riders, coordinators, and road safety audit. And it can take around 4 to 6 months to compile the results and submit the reports. We usually do it on the state roadways, where we call CTDOT, and we have finished one roadway safety audit, which was a Stratfield road safety audit in 2022 in the beginning, and we also went to Post Road and Mill Plain Road with CTDOT to analyze the conditions, to investigate it further. So it's done on a very larger scales. Then after road safety audit, we collect data. So data collection is basically investigating the crash history from Yukon repository, and with the police department. We do police records. We compile all the police records. We do traffic volume records, accurate speed data collection, signage, pavement markings, and other notable conditions. So our engineering department collect all the data to analyze more in depth where the problem is coming from. So this is helpful. This is helpful in identifying which countermeasure can be effective and how we can apply. Sometimes the challenges come on the roadway types. There are minor arterial roadways, there are major ones, they're collector, and they're local. And the minor and major are the most challenging roadways to analyze, because we have to collect more intensive data and study them. And then after this collection of data, we pick up the best countermeasures and distribute into short-term, long-term, and mid-term countermeasures. And once we select one countermeasure, we study that, and then we move to the next one, and then we see how that fits into it, and the other one, that how we can improve the situation from going 1 to 3. Then our engineering department also study traffic signal studies. We have 15 signalized intersections in the town, and engineering, with the help of consultants, study existing traffic signal characteristics, pedestrians, and bike features, or sometimes the pavement marking signs and proper signal features, if they are ADA compliant or not. So that also we take into consideration to accommodate pedestrians and bicyclists, to make them a priority on our roadways. Then we do geometric conditions. Geometric is another constraint that we have a challenge on. such as number of lanes. Like there are 4 lanes and we want to narrow it down to 2 lanes. Stratfield Road is one example. We have 7 feet wide shoulder lanes, and we're trying to narrow it down so that we can to bring some traffic calming measures. Then we have intersection legs. We have T intersections, or we have Y intersection. We have skewed intersections, roundabouts. There are a lot of residents want roundabouts so that the traffic calming. So we have to analyze what kind of intersection we are in to fit the mini circles or curb extensions. Driveway locations, that's another. We have a lot of intersecting driveways, especially on minor arterials, where we have residential zones in minor arterials on state highways. Then we have side distances, intersection turning radii, sidewalk presence, shoulder type. So these are the geometric constraints that we usually analyze in bringing the best to fit the countermeasure on our roadways. And then we have pedestrian delay studies. That is one of the most important as well, because we study lack of safe gaps in traffic, so that there is a good gap, but not much gap in traffic. And then existing signal timings that we are studying on Post Road. Recently we did it with the CTDOT to study the signal timings and to synchronize with the pedestrian timings on the state road specifically. So these are the 6 steps that we follow to pick up the countermeasure and recommend them. So now I'm going to turn to Chief Calaramas to talk about some enforcement recommendations.
Thank you, Megha. Chief Robert Calamaris, Fairfield Police. The traffic enforcement and education efforts by the police department may include regular patrols, setting up checkpoints, and conducting targeted enforcement campaigns in areas where high pedestrians and bicycle traffic. The goal of these efforts is to ensure that drivers are obeying traffic laws, especially those that pertain to the safety of pedestrians and cyclists. Many of our enforcement activities are a result from crash reports and complaints from residents. Some specific areas of focus may include speeding, failure to yield to pedestrians in crosswalks, distracted driving, red light violations, stop sign violations, and driving under the influence. Police department may also work with engineering to identify areas of concern that show a high number of motor vehicle collisions and develop strategies to improve safety, such as increasing signage, improving crosswalks, and implementing traffic calming measures. The Traffic Safety Unit worked closely with engineering to conduct road safety audits. As stated previously by Megha, a road safety audit is a systematic evaluation of a road or highway project to identify potential safety issues and to recommend improvements to reduce the likelihood and severity of crashes. The audit involves reviewing the road design and identifying potential hazards or deficiencies, such as inadequate signage, poor visibility, inadequate lighting, insufficient space for pedestrians or bicyclists, or unsafe intersections. Based on the findings, the team provides recommendations for design modifications or safety measures to mitigate potential safety risks, which may be presented before the Legal Traffic Authority, which is the Board of Police Commissioners. Traffic Safety Unit also assigns a member to the Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee when they have their meetings. Bicycle patrols are also a valuable tool that the police department uses to increase safety and education in our community. When police officers patrol on bicycles, they're able to cover more ground than they could on foot, and they have greater mobility and flexibility than they would in a car. We now have electric bikes that the officers utilize, which makes them more flexible in terms of response times to calls. Electronic traffic signs are dynamic signs that display information using digital technology, such as LED lights or electronic displays. These signs are used to convey a variety of messages to drivers, such as speed limits, lane closures, construction zones, and warning messages for hazardous road conditions. Electronic traffic signs allow us to quickly communicate important messages to drivers. They can also be programmed to change depending on specific conditions, such as time of day, weather conditions, or traffic volumes. Overall, the goal of the police department traffic enforcement and education effort is to create a safer environment for all road users, including pedestrians and bicyclists, by promoting compliance with traffic laws and reducing the risk of accidents and injuries.
Thanks, Chief. Mike and Steve, I know you guys are on the line. Mike, maybe if you wanted to start with any of the education recommendations, you can do so. And then Steve, you can follow, if that's okay.
I'm not sure if Mike is.
You want to take that down to, or are you done with it?
Stop. Yeah, we have it, but I can just hold on. So we have Steve. I don't think we have Mike.
No, Mike's not here.
Steve is here. Steve, would you like to talk about education?
I can't.
Not sure if she.
I don't know. Is there a way you could tell? You might be muted, Steve.
No, I don't think he is.
No.
Did he leave?
It doesn't show that he has any microphone.
Oh.
Oh.
Okay.
I don't. Is Jose on it? Yeah. Jose, do you want to chime in? If not, we have a little backup. But if you wanted to add something on education components, and we can get back to Steve and follow that up, obviously, to the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Jose Romeo. I'm going to turn on my camera so you can see me. Zooming in or WebExing in from my house. Grateful to be part of the committee and contribute to this, and thanks to Bill and the rest of the engineering team that's been looking at this issue. I think education-wise, we've been talking about the importance of educating the citizens of the town, but as well as working with the school system to educate students of all ages about road safety. I know I will be working with the superintendent on this topic specifically. I've been assigned from the committee to do this. We've also made recommendations to potentially do an audit of access to and from schools and high traffic areas where children are at, whether it's parks and things like that, to evaluate the safety of our facilities and our roadways when children are coming to and from school. And hopefully that increases the number of pedestrians and cyclists and reduces roadway traffic, which tends to be a chicken and egg issue. But we're excited for the plan and grateful for the opportunity to contribute to it.
Thank you. And I'll just add from the report, I know Steve, the chairman, he had highlighted at our last meeting that the education components were going to be share the roadway, that the state has a program, bicycle education, obviously school education, and pedestrian education. We talked about posting the driver, bicycle, and pedestrian tips on the town website through social media, First Select Woman's newsletter, and public places. And so we'll be putting it all together. I know the Board of Ed participates in the Bike to School Day in October. And I know the police department, either through helmet safety and bike rodeo, those are some of the other education components. And then a couple of years ago, before COVID, the Bike and Ped Committee, along with the museum, hosted a couple of events that combined, whether it be walking to the historic sites or doing a bike ride, and they had that educational component. So I think we're doing pretty good there town-wide, but obviously there's always room for improvement. So thanks everyone on that. And then I'd just like to highlight a couple of other areas with the in the sections of the report. Bicycle facilities, we have shared bike lanes and bike routes. We are going to investigate bike lanes, exclusive bike lanes, but that always becomes a little bit of an issue because a lot of residents and in cases of downtown, the businesses don't want to give up parking. So if there's a way that we can balance that or make it work with support, we're always willing to do that. And as a way of saying that this master plan is a kind of a work in progress, on the original master plan, the Greenfield Hill bike route was never put on. But last year, the Bike and Ped presented, and it was approval by the LTA. So we'll be putting up bike route signs through a health department. That's another department that Santina, in particular, has helped the the town gather some health department grants that we've been able to do many of these improvements on. And then sidewalks, for sidewalks, the pedestrians, there's sections of sidewalks, crosswalks, school zones, transit services, ADA compliance, and we will reference the draft beta report that we're working on. There's about 4 more pages of the report that are pretty self-explanatory. And then I'll just highlight, because some people might not be aware of it, the accomplishments of the group, the Bike and Ped Committee, police, engineering, and all others that were involved. We have developed 6 on-road bicycle routes, and there's it's even more than that if you count the spurs, but we have the Mill Plain Road neighborhood, the shore area, Southport Harbor, East Coast Greenway, the library to library, the beach to lake bike route, and Stratfield Road section. The other, for sidewalks, we have Stratfield Four Corners. We're anticipating construction next couple of weeks in April, with the completion later this year in 2023. Kings Highway, the section from Chambers to Villa Avenue was completed a couple of years ago. Southport connectivity, we hope to start sometime this summer. Grassmere Post is another one that's scheduled for this year. South Pine Creek, we did 1 section. We'll be doing another section through Santina's Health Department grant there. Wilson Street section was completed. Jackman Avenue, Post Road, and the old Post Road. Mill Plain Road, we're anticipating completion later in 2023. Hopefully the summer of 2023 for that one. Reef Road was the steep grant that the town just received. Same with Round Hill Road. The survey has been completed on Round Hill. Reef Road, we're compiling that now, and we hope to get the construction documents out in the summer for construction in the fall. And then we had a Stratfield Road RSA, which is a road safety audit. Credit to everybody on that one, where we did a road safety audit, and through local and state delegation, we were able to obtain a $2 million grant with the help of many different groups, including the Bike and Ped. And the Umpqua Safe Routes to School was done about a decade or so ago. And then their last sections were just, we kept the original plans. Regarding the potential railroad station recommendations, we mentioned possible funding sources, and of course, we're always open to any questions or comments. I think that presents a good wrap-up, not too long, I hope. And if there's any questions, by all means, we're here now or later.
Thanks, Bill,
Sure.
and thanks, Mega. I know how hard you work, like I said in the beginning. I think our residents don't realize probably the amount of time and effort that you do put in to all these audits and all these engineering reviews of our roads. And frankly, it's probably one of the biggest issues in our town, right? We get so many complaints from residents just about human behavior. I mean, let's be honest. People speed. I actually came up with something I was going to bring before the police commission, actually, Chief, because every night when I come home down Stilson Road, it never fails that there are people cutting through the traffic to go to the little pub, and they're never using the crosswalk. Literally, I see it every single night. I see families with young children darting through cars, and it scares the hell out of me, frankly. When there's a crosswalk like 25 feet from where they're crossing. And I don't know if we need to start putting up signs in our crosswalk areas. It's just one thing. I know there's so many issues in town, people speeding, going through stop signs, taking right on red when it clearly says do not take right on red, not being cognizant of their surroundings when they're driving, because sometimes, let's face it, we have pedestrians who are sometimes walking, looking at their telephones, or maybe kids who are just darting across the road on a bike. And so we all have to be really vigilant and to be careful that we're not going to injure anybody. But there are things and improvements that you have done, and I know you put so much work into it, and it takes time. It's not always an easy fix. We do have to deal with state agencies a lot, DOT, because of the interaction with our roads, with the state roads. And so I look forward to this work. I think this is a really, really good product. You put a lot of effort into it, and I see it. And I look forward to working with you and all stakeholders to try to continue to improve the safety of our community, because it's important. I think the public safety piece is really important, and I don't know how, maybe that's an idea, a flashing cross at the crosswalk. Please.
There are new technologies, and then, the Connecticut legislature are looking at various ways as well. I won't go into details with them.
Right.
A lot of them are pending, some may not even pass or whatever, but we're always informed on that. The police always notify us, and so does state legislature.
Yes.
Of anything that comes to play in terms of the law and legal improvements or technical improvements. So.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank you
obviously,
very
we
much.
want to make the town more walkable. When people are walking, it's good for everyone's health. It's good when they're riding bikes. It cuts down on the traffic, and we have to do everything we can to try to improve that, but also the safety issues. But a lot of it is human behavior. And so, we have to, I don't know how we change human behavior, but we can try. But we can make these safety improvements as well. And I know you've worked hard on it, so I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
I'm going to open it up. Nancy, do you have anything you'd like to ask, or?
Well, not to ask, but to really echo what you just said. I see Steve's hand is raised, and I don't know if that's from a previous, if he still has a comment or a question. But I just want to say thank you so much and echo what you just said. And I feel, I know this is years of hard work that has gone into this, and on the heels of Sarah Roy, who's retired, I know this was, it has been her passion as well, and just wanted to call her out. But to the team here, thank you for all of this incredible hard work, and the attention and the time and attention that you've put to this is just another reason why this community is lucky that you are in our corner and working on the safety and well-being of it. So thank you very much. And thank you for that pretty concise overview of what is a lot of heavy and dense material, and synthesizing it as you did. And I look forward to diving into it deeper. So just thanks.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
And then, Brenda, if I may, just, we didn't get a chance to, but we also, in the report, we have an updated bicycle route map, and we also have a sidewalk connectivity, sidewalk network map that will be part of the report as well.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Steve, did you want to, I saw your hand was up.
Yeah.
Steve?
I don't know if he can, is he on a chat thing, maybe?
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, can now.
Oh, finally. Oh, my God.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear you.
I got to tell you, I'm a Luddite at heart, and we use Zoom when I work for the town of Reading, and this did not work well for me. But anyhow, if you have 5 minutes.
Sure, go right ahead.
Maybe a quick,
Sure.
Okay. All right. First of all, thank you for approving Dave and Tony. We've experienced high turnover on the committee. Currently, we only have 2 members who have been on longer than 2 years. And with the appointment today, going forward, we will be fully staffed with 9 members. As far as the current plan, I feel this puts us at a bit of a disadvantage because we do not really have the knowledge to judge how many of the 11 points were actually done or what was done in addition. Perhaps the town could provide some input on this because we, as a committee, really don't have the ability. But having said that, going forward, at our March meeting, we agreed to reduce the number of bullet points to a more manageable 4. The first one is somewhat generic, and one thing I noticed in looking at the previous 11 bullets is that share the road appears in many of them, and there's some duplication. So what we'd like to do is utilize Share the Road and National Highway Traffic Safety Administration as our go-to websites for the information which we can use to educate the public. The second thing we talked about a little bit is the method of communication of this information. We're hoping that the Town of Fairfield update email, which Brenda puts out, I think would be a good vehicle for us. Certainly, we have a small Instagram and Facebook following, which, again, I am not very adept at, but hopefully somebody else is. And on the school side, I believe they have separate resources as far as communication internally and externally. So I talked about four points. So 2, 3, and 4 are going to be labeled pedestrian, bicycle, and schools, which will have multiple bullets under each. The bullets are going to be are being drafted now. A member of the committee, in working with a town liaison in many cases, will be taking ownership of one of the 4 bullets. For example, the school bullets will be developed by a member of our committee, who is or was on the call, working with Mike Testani. And I think that that's going to work very well through the cooperation of the town department liaisons and the committee members. These bullets and actually the entire education recommendation is going to be on our April meeting, and hopefully we can finalize a good draft at that meeting. And that's kind of where we are.
Thank you, Steve. That's very helpful. And maybe Jose, who's running the Instagram, Jose?
We'll figure it out.
Okay. Well, we're happy to be helpful in any way we can to include whatever you need us to include in the newsletter. And we can also push out information through our town Instagram. And I know that Santina is awesome at the health department. During COVID, she was just a rock star. She was producing her own videos, and that were just, people just loved. And they were catchy and quick, and they got through to people. And so we're happy to partner in that way as well. Anything we can do, obviously.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Just one last thing as a reminder, too, with the past and present Fairfield Bike and Ped Committee. That committee, along with other town officials and the state, has helped the town get, millions of dollars in sidewalk and pedestrian-type grants. We're probably somewhere easily between $5 and $10 million. And so this group has been very helpful on that, and we look forward to hearing any of their comments as well. So,
Very good.
thank you.
Thank you both very much for all your hard work.
That's it. Thanks, Chief.
All right. There's no further discussion on this. Thank you both, really. Our next item, can I get a motion to consider and act upon the tax refunds as recommended by the tax collector in the amount of $45,775.41?
So moved.
I'll second. Is there any discussion on this item?
Nope.
Is there any discussion from the public? Back to the board. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. And I just wanted to update the board on a couple things in the public. I just want to say that on Thursday evening, the RTM voted in concurrence with the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance in supporting the proposal to repair the pavilion and the NOV and to remediate the contaminated soil under the building. Obviously, spending these resources on a project is certainly not something that any of us celebrate, but I am obviously grateful we won't be losing this amenity to our town. And I know that sometimes leadership means making decisions and proposing solutions, no matter how controversial or difficult that is. And in doing, keeping in mind that I always do what I think is best for our community as someone who is a third-generation Fairfielder. And now that all of our town bodies have voted to move forward with our proposal of remediation and repair, as promised, I will be sending a letter to FEMA tomorrow morning in coordination with Congressman Himes, Senator Murphy, and Senator Blumenthal, seeking their reconsideration of the insurance retrograde, and I will continue to keep our community informed as new information is received. And I look forward to putting this unfortunate chapter behind us. I want to also acknowledge that I'm excited to announce the town of Fairfield is now a member of the AARP network of age-friendly states and communities, and Fairfield is now one of 7 towns in the state to become part of this network. ARPA's network, an affiliate of the World Health Organization's global network of age-friendly cities and communities, is part of the international campaign to help communities prepare for our aging populations. Age-Friendly Fairfield is a town-wide initiative that aims to make our community a great place to grow up and grow old. And as a member of the ARPA Age-Friendly Network, Fairfield commits to assessing the challenges to our aging population and identifying policies and programs and new ideas that will improve the quality of life for all ages in our community. And I really want to take the time to thank Julie DeMarco, who has just been so incredibly dedicated to this work, and our Senior Center Director, Brenda Steele, for spearheading this effort on behalf of our town. And then I just want to remind that we do have, tomorrow is our 15th, I can't believe it's already 15th, annual One Book, One Town event at the Quick Center. And this year's book selection, I keep trying to catch his eye, is the first time we've actually had an author chosen from Fairfield. Ivan Maisel, who sadly lost his son to suicide, we chose this book to present a unique opportunity for holding a town-wide read and an event that has a profound impact on the community and provides us with an opportunity for meaningful conversations for all of us. And I just want to say that I did read the book when it was unveiled, and I thought it was a very compelling book. And I would encourage anyone who hasn't yet taken the time to read it, I will be attending tomorrow night, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from Ivan. He wrote a really powerful and compelling story. And just for teens and middle school readers, the titles are Hope Wins, and a collection of inspiring stories for our young readers, and also Hope Nation, which is a YA authors share personal moments of inspiration for children, and the title is The Rhino Suit. And that is all I have for under new business. Do you have anything you'd like to share, Nancy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for bringing up Ivan Mazel's book. It's so, it's even hard to put into words. It's so emotional, it's raw, it's profound, and it's a really important read. So I'm sorry I'm going to miss that discussion, but I definitely will be there in spirit and urge anyone that hasn't yet read it or has the opportunity to listen to that conversation to do so. It's such an incredibly important topic. And I also, on a different note, want to acknowledge the AARP acknowledgement, because as someone who's already gotten mail from AARP, KR March.
You're late to the game,
So,
Nancy. You're late to the game. I've been getting
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So, thank you to Brenda and Julie for paving the way there. And then also, with Penfield, I just wanted to echo what you said. And although we didn't agree at the table, I do agree that sometimes, we have to make hard decisions. And, my point in the conversation a few weeks ago was just to make sure that we were asking good questions and interrogating the process. And I want to bring up an email that was sent by Kathleen Griffin, who brought up a good point about a committee and in some form, whether it's a special building committee, assigning the project to that committee, creating a new committee. I urge this board to think about that as a process moving forward to help keeping the process transparent and on track and on budget. With Tom not here, I don't think, obviously, we really need to get into the discussion, but I think it's something I would urge us to do at our next Board of Selectmen meeting. It seems like there was at least a feeling, my sense is that the administration felt that would be something we could consider, and the Board of Finance certainly brought that up as a possibility. So just want to go on record for saying that, and good luck to all of us as a town, because, again, it really serves us to have that project on time, on budget, and put behind us ultimately, so that we can go back to enjoying the pavilion. But that's it in terms of anything I wanted to add.
Agreed, thank you. And we're going to be discussing that during our staff meeting this week. So thank you for bringing that up. Is there any other item, Nancy?
No, thank you.
Okay. All right, well, look at us. Not bad. Okay. And I ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Have a
All
good
right,
night.
thank you.
Enjoy your vacation.
Yeah, you too.
Take care.